Greetings! Adobe Live. Good morning, everyone. I'm doing a little, a little cosplay for you guys this morning, because as most of you know, we have had a lot of space-themed challenges for the last 2 weeks. It's been super fun, and I did make a promise that if I saw tons and tons of entries for the challenge for over the 2 weeks, that I would do a cosplay. Today I'm cosplaying Kylo Ren, who is cosplaying as an Inferno Squad pilot. Why? Because I couldn't find my Inferno Squad helmet. That's why. And I had a choice between Inferno Squad, Iden Versio, Kylo Ren, or Fry Cook Darth Vader. Don't ask me why I have that last one, because I myself don't really know. But I have it. May the Force be with you as well, Angela. You guys have been so great. Also, my name's Voodoo Val, not Fry Cook Vader or Kylo Ren masquerading as a pilot. I'm going to be your host this morning for the final Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge of this segment. It's been a blast so far. I'm going to take you guys through. Let me set this over here. I'm going to take you guys through some of the things that we have done thus far. I am going to pull up the Discord and walk you through Discord. I'm going to show you guys how you can get involved in what I am working on today. And I'm also going to do the final challenge, which I actually think is a pretty good ending to this 2-week challenge segment. So join the dark side and eat chocolate all day, every day, Noor. Dark side, best side. All right, guys. So first of all, if you've never been here before, or maybe you have been here, but you haven't really been involved in these challenges, first of all, if you're over on YouTube, make sure that you come over to behance.net/live. That is where I am reading the chat. It's where everyone is hanging out, and it's where you will have to be if you want to win prizes going into the future. Not today, but during our other streams, and where you can just make some friends and get all the links and awesome resources that our guests and hosts share when we do our classes. If you're over in Behance and you would like to be involved in what I am doing today, just head over to behance.net/challenge/Photoshop, and that page looks like this. This is the Daily Creative Challenge landing page for Photoshop. And as you can see, every morning we have been unlocking a new challenge for you. As I said, they've all been space themed this time. So we made ourselves into space explorers with layers and selections. We created our own space badge to rep our chosen insignia with the bevel and emboss tools on the second day. We used patterns to apply a pattern to either our badge or a cool piece of space equipment. A lot of people made like helmets or chest plates or all kinds of awesome stuff that you might need as a space explorer. We used shapes and layer masks to create a robot sidekick, distort filters to create a spacescape nebula, which was super fun. Then we used our compositing skills the next day to add in some awesome planets and all kinds of other cool stuff into that nebula. We used the 3D workspace the next day to create a spaceship for our space explorer. And then yesterday we made a decal for our spaceship out of our badge by applying text on a path and putting some cool stuff together. Now today, because this is the final day, we're going to use Blur and Liquify to create the iconic Star Wars hyperspace effect. We're gonna jump to hyperspeed, guys, and take off into the great unknown. I don't know where you folks are planning to adventure to, my space explorers. Maybe you're going to the unknown regions. Maybe you're going to fight the Borg, or perhaps you're visiting Bug Planet. Whatever you're gonna do, I wish you a safe adventure, or maybe a not so safe, dangerous adventure, because those ones make for the best stories. And I think it's going to be great. So, one last thing before we jump into what I have planned, I'm going to show you the Discord. If you folks have not already, you can hit join the community chat up at the top here, or you can say, let's see, I think that button is not there anymore. So just at the top will take you to our Discord, and the Discord looks like this. Let's bump over here real quick. Discord, and I'm gonna push myself over to the other side with magic. Haha. In this Discord, we have our current challenge, our past challenge, design other portfolio reviews, all kinds of super awesome things where you can come into these channels and get involved. For today, we're going to be using the current challenge channel. So if you create anything for this current round of challenges, please post it in here. Please work along with me and share it here so that we can see. Look at all these fabulous... oh my goodness, this is great! Somebody actually did... Nuruddin actually made a spaceship with the text that we were doing yesterday. That's amazing. You guys are doing fabulous. Look at this. Look at this. Who's that from? The Ripper. Oh my gosh. Everyone has been doing such a fabulous job. I see a nice Death Star going on here. I'm digging it. One for Klingons. Yes. And it's just been a blast. It's been super, super fun. Creating badges, making spaceships, making spacescapes. It's been awesome. Definitely post your work into this channel so that I can see it, so that our mentors can see it, and so that everyone in the community can check out what you are creating. Now, without further ado, we're going to jump to hyperspace. Hyperspeed is what we're going to do. If we don't get a scar, was it even an adventure? Isaiah, I see where you're going with that. I sort of concur. I think if you're gonna go to Bug Planet, guys, or if you're gonna adventure to Hut Space, you'll probably get a few scars. But I mean, I already told you I got a bad feeling about this. So if you go, then you're pretty much signing your own self off to whatever happens to you. Okay. Love the logo you did for Valley. Yeah, Madi did a great job. It was really good. You guys did fantastic. Oh no, we'll have to watch the replay. Okay, Tanya. Alright, so if you clicked the Get Started button on the challenge this morning, then you will actually be able to download this file. This is the starter file that I've created for you folks, and what I've done is I have included my nebula from a previous challenge because I think that the hyperspeed effect looks super cool when it's applied onto this texture. You folks do not have to use it. I put it in there just in case you guys did not create your own. If you did work on that challenge, I encourage you though to use your own nebula that you created, because then it will be even more personalized and more you. But if you want to use mine, you can, and if you would prefer just to have a black background, that is okay as well. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hide my text thing here. I am going to select my nebula, which is right there, the Val's nebula layer. I'm going to say Control T to transform, and I'm going to extend this to the borders of my file here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to crop this because I only want to have this showing. So I'm going to hit C on my keyboard, which will bring up my crop tool, and I'm going to drag this down just to have only my nebula selected, so you can see that there. I've pressed F to bring myself into this next view of Photoshop, but because I'm working with a lot of black today, I'm actually going to right click outside of my canvas, and I'm going to set this to dark gray so you can actually see the boundary of my canvas that I'm working on. So now that I have my nebula sort of situated here, what I'm going to do is for my own my own concentration and my own organization, I'm actually going to fill this with a temporary black. So I'm going to say Control-Shift-N to make a new layer. I'm going to grab my paint bucket from my toolbar over here. And then, if I can actually grab it, there we go. And then I'm going to switch to black. And I'm going to paint bucket in some black. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm about to create a layer of stars, and I'd like to be able to see those stars only and not see them against the nebula so that I can really see what I've got to work with. So then above that black layer, I'm gonna create a new layer, Control-Shift-N, and then Enter. And I am going to grab a brush and hit B on my keyboard. And I'm going to select a pre-existing brush and I'm going to make it into kind of a star brush. So I'm going to select this hard round pressure brush. That is a brush that everyone has in their Photoshop by default. I'm going to change the color to white, and then I'm going to just show you here, it's literally just a hard round brush of white. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up to the top here and I'm going to click this brushes panel. I'm going to change the spacing to pretty far out here. I'm going to come over to Shape Dynamics and I'm going to mess with the size jitter here. I'm going to crank that up so that it's very different. And then I'm going to go into scattering and I'm going to scatter these. And then when I paint, I should have kind of a scatter. Yeah, there we go. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So I'm just going to put some stars on this canvas. In fact, I'm actually going to make these a little smaller. I'm going to make my brush smaller. And yeah, there we go. So I'm just going to fill my canvas up with these dots. And that essentially is going to create the base stars we're going to work with today. I did also, if you guys are not comfortable with messing with the brushes, maybe you're very new to Photoshop and that's a little daunting for you, I did actually include a star texture that I used when I actually did the nebula challenge. So if you would prefer to use this texture, that's fine. I've included that for you. But we're going to use this one for now. So I've done this, and now what I'm going to do is I am going to apply a blur. So I'm going to come up to Filter, and I am going to go into Blur, and I'm going to say Radial Blur. Okay, now something that's very important about radial, if you leave it on its default, what it's going to do is it's actually going to spin it around. And that is not what you want. This is not jumping to hyperspace. This is like diving into black hole, and that's not what we're here for. So I'm going to Control Z and come up here to Filter. Make sure that when you go into Blur and you go to Radial Blur, that you actually select Zoom. Because the zoom is what's going to give us that whoosh effect that we like so much. Okay, I'm going to crank this up to maybe an 86. That's fine. And I'm going to go ahead and say okay and see what that gives us. Yeah, there we go. So we got some hyper jump texture going on here. But to give it a little bit of extra oomph, what we're going to do is we're going to go back into Filter. We're going to go Distort, and we're going to say Pinch. And I like to use pinch because what it does, you can change the amount up or down, and as you can see, you've got like a little grid like above here, above my head. You got a little grid to show you exactly how pinched we're getting here. So I'm going to crank it up a little bit, and then when I hit OK, you can see that it just adds that extra bit of zoom. I never thought that was a phrase that I would use, extra bit of zoom, but it's very, very relevant here. But we're not going to stop here because that's fairly easy, fairly simple, but we want to add a little bit more awesomeness to this, right? We want this to look a little cooler than just that. So what I'm going to do is I am going to double click my layer here, and I'm going to apply a blue outer glow to all of this stuff. So I'm going to maybe crank this up to a bright color like that. I think that looks pretty good actually. I'm going to say okay, and you can kind of flip through the colors or the blending modes up here. If you like, just to kind of create something that you prefer. That actually doesn't look bad. A hard light, I'm going to crank the opacity down, and that looks pretty cool. One thing you might also like to do if maybe this isn't bright enough for you, you can, I'm going to hide this real quick, and I'm just going to duplicate this layer because you might want it a little whiter than that. Like that looks pretty cool. In fact, I'm going to keep that. I'm going to keep that top layer selected. I'm going to hold shift and select the bottommost layer that I want to merge, and then I'm going to say Control E, and I'm going to merge them together. I'm going to double click it again, and now I'm going to apply the blue outer glow because I like it brighter. Let's see, outer glow. You can make this maybe a little brighter. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. That definitely is starting to look like a bit of hyperspeed to me. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove that black layer that I had because I want the nebula that I created to show through. So I just think that looks super cool. Like it still has stars. So I guess technically if you're jumping to hyperspeed, going into hyperspace, there wouldn't be like static stars. But I think that looks awesome. So I'm going to leave that. And that is how to create a cool texture of jumping to hyperspace. Now you can get in here with Liquify and you can make things like super wiggly if you want. You can do all kinds of stuff. I highly encourage you to jump into the filters and see what else you can do. Because it's really up to you. But what I would do if this were mine, and it is before I call it quits and say this is done, I would actually add a cool like cockpit kind of texture over the top of this. So real quick, I'm just gonna go ahead and embellish this because I think it looks super cool if I go for it. So I'm gonna say Control Shift in. Also, I say Control Shift in to make a new layer, and it does give me an option to name the layer. I'm very bad at naming layers, but know that if you do this hotkey, it will allow you to name it, and you probably should. In fact, I'm gonna call this Cockpit so that I know what it is. Just this one layer, I know what that is. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am going to right click here. I am going to grab this hard round brush here. I'm going to turn this onto black. I'm going to make sure my opacity and my flow is up. I'm going to do a quick, there we go, that works. So I am going to make my brush really large, and I'm going to click, hold shift, and drag across my canvas like so, because I want to make a straight line. I'm going to Control T, and I'm going to drag that down like that. Then what I'm going to do is I am going to click, then hold shift, and click again. And that's going to make a straight line between the 2 points that I clicked. Then I'm going to also come up here, and I'm going to click one more time, and it's going to bring a straight line up there. And then from this little corner here, I am going to, maybe I'll make my brush a little bit smaller, and I'm going to drag my brush straight across, maybe one more time, like so. Then with this layer, I'm going to say Control J to duplicate it. I'm going to say Control T to transform it. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to say Flip Horizontal. And I think that just adds, like, I hope it looks like this to you, but to me, this looks like I am sitting like in some kind of spaceship cockpit, and I'm looking out at the stars. I think it looks cool. You could even, let's make a new layer real quick. You could even like start to round the corners just to make this look like a enclosed space. Ha! Space. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to Control A to select my entire canvas, Control J to duplicate that, Control T to transform. I'm going to right click, flip horizontal, and I'm going to drag this over there just to keep everything totally symmetrical. And hit enter, and then I'm going to Control E to merge that down into the cockpit. I think that looks super cool. You could even add some texture to this. So let me scroll through my libraries here, and I am going to grab, I believe I have a noise texture that I love to use in here somewhere. Yeah, here we go. I am going to drag this out. I'm going to position this in the middle. I'm going to hold Alt so that when I resize, it's resizing from all sides of this texture. I'm going to say Enter. I'm going to right click this. I'm gonna put it on a clipping mask so that it clips to the shape of my cockpit design here. I'm gonna turn the opacity down a little bit so that it's not super harsh. And then I'm gonna take my eraser, I'm gonna click here. It's gonna rasterize this smart object that I drug into here because I'm going to edit it. I'm gonna make sure I'm selected on a soft round pressure brush. And then I'm just gonna come in and I'm gonna erase around the edges of this just by softly clicking my mouse, just because I don't want it to be super harsh. I just want it to be a little bit lighter around the front, but not so much the back. And then lastly, you could even come in, let's see, you could even come in between your cockpit and your stars. We could say Control Shift in, and maybe I want, let's grab a soft round brush instead of a soft round eraser. Maybe I want to make it look like there's shine or something on the glass. So maybe I come in here and I click around like so. And then with my eraser tool, I'm going to select the round pressure opacity and Control Z. And maybe with this, I just come in here and I just shift click through to put little streaks through the window, right? Maybe I'll make some that are a little wider, like this, and I will just click around. I want to kind of make them off the same. There we go. Like so. And you can do this however you want. I'm sure there's better ways to do this, but I'm just going for it like this. Do that, and then turn it on a lower opacity so that it just looks like there's streaks, like subtle streaks, like you're behind glass in a cockpit jumping to hyperspace. I think it's super cool. Voodoo Val leads us to a flawless victory yet again. Thank you, Lieutenant Isaiah. I appreciate you being aboard my ship. Ludicrous speed, yes. So this is how I create kind of an effect that looks like we are jumping to hyperspace. I can't wait to see what sort of stuff you guys do. I can't wait to see what it looks like with your own nebula designs if you designed a nebula. If you did not design a nebula, if you were not here on that day or you didn't have time, you can always go back to behance.net/live and scroll down. I believe it was challenge number 5, the distort filters challenge is where I created the nebula. You can go back and do that. It's very quick and easy, and you can create your own nebula to use in the back. And I also can't wait to see if some of you guys create the cockpit effect over the top, and I want to see what you folks do. I'm gonna be sad if nobody hangs the Luke dice from the top of the cockpit, because that is what you should do. Luke, Leia, and Han, give them a shout out with that. That would be awesome. I want to know if you guys are going to put planets or, you know, I guess Bug Planet, obviously. If you were going to hyper jump away from any planet, it would probably be that one. Also, apologies for anyone in chat who's not a sci-fi nerd like me. You probably don't know what I'm talking about. If you are not into sci-fi, but you still want to participate in the challenge, feel free to. I mean, you can use these challenges in any way that you see fit. A lot of these challenges are super versatile in that you could use them for different projects. Never feel like you can't post or share your challenge entries if they're not sci-fi themed. You know, that's just a theme that I kind of put on these so you folks would have something fun to follow along with. But if you do something different and totally unrelated to these challenges with the challenge tutorials, show us. Let us see what you guys got going on. Let us see what you decided to create instead, because we would all love to check it out. So thank you very much. Yes, full power to shields. Thank you guys so much for joining me. It has been a blast. I appreciate you folks being here while I am all dressed up in my Star Wars stuff. It's been fun. This is the end of my 2 weeks of Daily Creative Challenge. Someone else will be taking over the next week. But it's been a blast. You guys are awesome. You guys are wonderful and inspiring, and I can't believe all the fantastic work that you all created these past 2 weeks. You're wonderful. Thank you for having me, Adobe, and I will see you guys next week. Adios, everyone.